Hey everybody, this is Mark Smith, the host of Digital Roughnecks, and I'm here with Chad Van Buskirk from Intelligent Wellhead Systems. And Chad,
Great to
welcome to the
be here,
show.
Mark.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your background first. I think it helps people to know a little bit where you're coming from.
Well, came from a little different background than most. I'm an environmental engineer. Been in the industry over 20 years now, in the oil and gas world anyway. Worked in a few countries around the world for 10 years of that 20, 5 continents. So kind of spanned the world there, got a good breadth of experience. And now I'm using that information that I've gathered and knowledge to kind of lead IIoT and intelligent systems. Our company is called Intelligent Wellhead Systems, and we're the pioneers of automating frac sites. Sometimes I want to avoid the word autonomous frac site, but that's the end goal. We can see our vision definitely streaming that way. So we use physical controls, digital feedback loops, and proprietary and off-the-shelf sensors to focus on delivering visibility, consistency.
And what was the problem that you saw that during the drilling operations that made you go, I wonder if we could fix this?
Yeah, the most apparent and obvious problem to solve was those human error events where someone would walk up to a valve bank at the accumulator during a multi-well pad fracturing operation and swing that wrong valve. So that could result in anything from an overpressure event. If you close the fracturing valve, now you have possibly parted pipe, a 2-day stand down, safety stand down, let's say. Hazard hunt investigations ensues, pony rods on the power ends of pumps might be damaged, equipment damage, and obviously a catastrophic event of a human losing their life, let's say. That was one of the apparent results of closing that wrong valve. Another one would be, your wireline tools within your wellhead and you accidentally close the wrong well, or you cut wireline and drop a tool down the well. That could take you offline, right?
So, so before we get into your specific solution that Intelligent Wellhead does and describe it, what were people doing before Intelligent Wellhead was around? I mean, what did operations look like before? And then explain to me what they look like afterwards.
Okay. Well, as we got more efficient on these multi-well pad fracture sites, there's a lot of SIMOPS, right? Complex operations. You've got wireline, fracturing, pump down, other services that are, all trying to fit in to their critical pieces on the path and not interrupt each other. So minutes mattered. A critical part of that operation was well swapping. So what you're doing is you're going from a fracturing operation, let's say, to a maintenance shutdown to a wireline operation, plug and perf. So people were actually using hydraulically actuated valves or remote actuation and walking up to the accumulator bank where the valves are operated and swinging valves there based on a checklist. Maybe it could be a paper-based checklist, maybe just kind of a crew meeting, making sure everyone was in agreement which valve we're going to swing next and in what sequence. So as you can imagine, that becomes redundant and repetitive, and mistakes can be made when humans are relying on such repetitiveness in a complex operation where you might not be on the same sequence all the time, but you might have the same SOP of valves to operate in an order that a computer can definitely take over. So before you were seeing any kind of barriers to swinging a valve, like a cup or a padlock or a note of which one not to touch. This well's on frac, this one's on wireline. What we've done is we've come in on site and we deliver the value right now of taking data inputs from our proprietary sensors and off-the-shelf sensors, putting that through control loops and not allowing anyone to swing a valve because we've put a physical barrier there controlled by logic. So let's say a well is on wireline in operation. There's no way someone could go close that crown valve, swab valve, and cut wireline, leave it down whole. It would be physically impossible without a digital handshake. So we introduced a digital way of processing this operational workflow. So we're actually changing the way people work out there.
And so since you guys have been in operation, what's been some of the results you've seen?
Well, we can definitely say with 100% that with this system installed on any of our clients, there have been none of these catastrophic events. No overpressures, no valve closures that weren't meant to be, no wireline events in terms of cutting or shearing a tool. So that is one major benefit. Another one comes with, obviously, people have more assurance in what they're doing. They don't have that chronic unease that or second guessing themselves. They now have a tool in front of them that they can say, okay, that valve's open. This is the configuration of that frac tree. Here are my interlock situations. I now feel comfortable swinging this valve. So instead of doing it over the radio, hand signals, paper, we're now giving them a tool to do it digitally with sensor information.
So Chad, the vision for autonomous fracking, that's a big vision. Is there certain phases that an operator goes through, let's say, level 1, 2, or 3, or something like that before they could hit that level?
There certainly is. When we go from any kind of manual to autonomous situation, there's levels of trust that you need to go through and automation. So I always look at it as different levels of, okay, the first level would be aggregating data and surveilling your operation, having a surveillance mechanism. And that's pretty common in the industry right now. A lot of service providers there making dashboards, let's say, bringing the data together. The next step would be a little harder. That'd be automating administrative tasks. So using that data, turning that into information, either creating a dashboard that allows you to see metrics or analysis on your operation, or even using APIs to transact that data, being interoperable with a well site reporting software, or even internally to your geology department. Any kind of information that is being automated should be used in a, populated once, touched many times since. So no one has to take that data offline, manipulate it, clean it. It's coming at you from site, from the hardware on site, clean into your database. Now, the hardest part, in my mind, is getting to the stage where you now have all this information in front of you. How can we use it to better the operation in an efficiency sense, in a safety sense, in a sense that improves or gives a tool to everyone on site to improve the complete operation by reducing these human error behaviors. It's happened, everyone's heard one. A lot of people have one under their belt where they've been on a site or they're in the office in the morning call and they get that call that, oh boy, we've cut wire line on one of the wells. The reason that happens is, humans involved in these complex operations, there's a lot going on. They make mistakes. We give that tool, we engineer out the mistake. We give a physical barrier and we eliminate that. So that would be the hardest part. Using the information to feed back to controls to physically manipulate or operate a physical process.
So, which sounds pretty amazing because that would require, interoperability with other equipment that you didn't bring in and that they're using. So it not only can you monitor that, but you can then manage that by sending a signal through the feedback loop and causing that equipment to do this, that, or the next thing. So I understand you're going to be speaking at an upcoming event and you put something together that you'd like to make available for people that you think would be really useful. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm speaking next week at the ICOTA event for Moscow, hydraulic fracturing, coil tubing, and intervention. So I'm doing a presentation there. If you reach out to me afterwards, I can probably provide you with the paper and the presentation. Not probably, I will, but I'd like to know how it's being disseminated. So if you need further information from that, definitely join the conference, see my talk. It's on Wednesday at 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, Mountain Daylight Time now. So a little early, but we'll be able to share that for sure.
Chad, I really appreciate you being a guest here on Digital Roughnecks, and we'll provide all the contact information in the show notes. Looking forward to reading your white paper, which I'm sure you're scrambling to finish, if you're like me.
Finish today, yeah. No, always great to get the message out. We're an excited group, what we're delivering to the industry. So always great to have multiple platforms for people to get our information.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah. Take care, Mark.